Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
This is the best advice I can give to any coach, consultant, or small to medium business moving forward. Now, we're about to get into a recession. And the news is saying it, the tabloids are saying it, the experts are saying it. You can see the financial upheaval, things are going up. The banks are increasing their lending rates and all that financial stuff, which might start to put a strain on each and every one of us, especially because we just came out of a pandemic. Now, I'm not quite sure at what time or year you're listening to this, but right now in Australia and in America, we've officially entered a recession. And a recession is when, prices are just going up and there's systematic collapse of the supply chain and everything else that comes along with it. So you will notice that most of our clients, most of the people that we help with our consulting, our training, our information, our expertise are going through an economic downturn or a market downturn, and nobody's spending. And, business confidence has just been at an all-time low, okay? But I want you to know that it is times like this where you literally can create wealth for yourself, and it is times like this that you can actually come out at the top. Even though this is maybe your first recession or your first time to see a financial sort of collapse happening, and if you're only just getting started in your business, this might be a time for you to pivot and actually start looking at other ways for making money within your business, okay? So there's a ton of advice that I can maybe give to coaches and consultants, and there's also a ton of advice that's out there. But I think the best advice I can give you right now, given where we are, is just try and work hard and put aside an emergency cash fund equivalent to about 2 months of your earnings. The reason why I'm saying this is because it then creates a moat or a buffer around all the expenses that you might encounter, or you might be losing money just because of the recession and what is actually happening currently, whereby, everybody else is just maybe penny pinching and not actually paying their invoices. So if you've got a moat of around 2 to 3 months of your earnings, then you know that all your overheads are covered, okay? And why is this important? Because there's always going to be ups and downs in the life of you being a coach or a consultant, all right? When the market is bleeding red, so they speak, everything is going down, people cancel their marketing budgets, their coaching budgets, anything that is not critical to their primitive survival, okay? I don't know if you've ever heard of what's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay? If you haven't, then that could be something that you need to focus on, because at any given moment, people are always looking to fulfill their psychological needs. That's their air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, and anything to do with reproduction. That's their psychological needs, all right? And when things are okay, they've got enough food, they've got enough water, they've got enough shelter and good sleep, they now go on to their own personal security, which looks after maybe their employment, the resources that they have, their own health, and they actually start dabbling into owning some property. All right. And once that's in play, they now want to share that with others, which now leads them to start focusing on friendships, intimacy, family, having a sense of community, a sense of connection. And that then becomes their main focal point and things of that nature. When they are fulfilled with their families, they now want status. They want respect from those people that they are now connected with. They also want to enhance their self-esteem, recognition, strength, freedom. And do you notice that during the self-esteem sort of stage, that's where a lot of coaches and consultants come into play, because you're helping people with their health, their wealth, and their relationships. All right. And if people are taken away from this level in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they go straight down to psychological needs. And that's where, you as a coach or consultant start suffering, because people don't quite need what you have for their own survival. And some coaches play in the last rung of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where they are after self-actualization, a desire to become the most that one can be, which is exactly where a lot of coaches are playing. So, my friend, you the coach right now, you are playing in an area where if all hell breaks loose, you're usually the first, line to be taken out of a credit card statement. Okay, so how then do you create a moat for that not to happen? And that doesn't just happen, during hard times or anything of that nature. It happens every single time when you are, no longer needed as a coach or consultant. People will cancel you out. But what that means is that's loss of revenue on your part. So why is it important for you to set aside an emergency cash fund, an equivalent of 2 months of your earnings? Because it does take that long for you to create another customer. It does take that long for people to get to know you, like you, and trust you. And in the process, you want to be maintaining, your overheads. You want to be paying your outsourcing agents. You want to be able to pay for the platforms that actually allow you to convert those customers into, those prospects into paying customers. So why is this important? Because when there's ups and downs in your life as a coach or freelancer, whether you're maybe just starting out or you've been freelancing for years, you do not want to also have a gap in your lead generation process, because it does take a redemptive amount of time for somebody to get to know you, like you, and trust you. So that's why it's important for you to really set aside cash reserves, that can fund for you 3 or more months in advance, okay? And it doesn't matter, whether you're just doing okay as a freelancer today or you're a rock star or superstar. If you don't have financial backup, or if you don't have a moat to help you manage or sail through market downturns, or when, the economy decides to flip, you, my friend, will be left high and dry. And I can understand, as an entrepreneur, looking after your money is just one aspect of running a successful business. You you go from hiring and managing new staff, balancing the books, driving growth, and a whole lot more. And it all feels like it's a constant balancing act, when you're pulled in multiple different directions all at once. And at the end of the day, your real goal is just to help your clients. You know what I mean? You just want to spend as much time as possible changing people's lives and solving people's problems. And you don't want to waste countless hours each day trying to navigate your finances, or trying to find out which tool you need to skimp on this month just so you can make rent, or you can actually put food on your table. And you certainly don't want to spend yet another minute on the phone having to beg people to hire your services, because people can tell when you're hungry. And when you're hungry, people, are like scared because you're scary. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, you don't have to. Okay, so like I said, it doesn't matter whether you're just doing okay as a freelancer or you're already a rock star within your industry. You will always have an occasional month that doesn't deliver money that you need to cover your bills. And especially now with this instability of the economy all around the world, you're definitely going to need a whole lot more than what you have in front of you right now. Okay, so if anything that you're going to be creating some sort of income for yourself, you need to create a moat, a diverse recurring revenue stream, so you can skyrocket your profitability and ensure that your business remains 100% bulletproof, even during marketing downturns, even during global pandemics, even during sweeping lockdowns. So basically, you're going to need to create diverse recurring revenue streams so you can skyrocket your profitability and ensure that your business remains 100% bulletproof, even during those market downturns, global pandemics, or any sweeping lockdowns. Okay, you need to have a cash reserve to make up for those months when things are not absolutely as they are supposed to be. Okay, and this is just a simple business practice. A lot of us might not have that concept down packed, and it's called cash flow management, where every company, large or small, has to manage its cash flow. Okay, you need to know where your revenue streams are going to be coming from, and a lot of people, especially in the coaching and consulting sort of space, haven't created recurring revenue streams where you are paid whether you wake up or you don't go to work. Okay, so this happens in terms of you having created services or things that actually generate income while you sleep. I think it was Warren Buffett who said that you will work the rest of your life if you haven't created a way that basically enables you to be paid while you sleep. Okay, so the world has actually led you to believe that financial freedom, all those things that people want, is something that is reserved for a select few, and that's something that you cannot even create for yourself in this lifetime. Okay, and obviously you've been taught that wealth is something that only happens to just a select few, or if somebody wins a lottery, or they're blessed with unimaginable talent, or they inherit whatever fortunes that may come to them. Well, the truth, my friend, is you can create excessive financial wealth if you follow the processes. There is a science to this. There's methods to this. All right, it just comes down to simply maybe your beliefs, and also understanding your views and who you're actually listening to right now. Okay, so in this podcast, we're going to be talking about how you literally can do this in order to just have that emergency cash fund for 2 to 3 months ahead, so that you don't have to scramble through these economic downturns that are coming our way. And why is this important? Well, obviously, the first answer is that you're going to need to pay your bills. But just as important is, you need to know you always have enough money to pay your bills, to put food on the table, and even have some extra cash left over. That way you feel relaxed about your business. You feel relaxed when you're talking to clients, and you don't necessarily have to overwork or put yourself or your family in jeopardy. Okay, and when you're short of money in your business, or even coming close to being short of money, you actually feel the stress and you become easily distracted. You get snappy at your kids, you get snappy at your clients, you get snappy at just about everybody else who's out there wanting the same things that you want. And as soon as you feel stressed or distracted, obviously your productivity suffers. Okay, you will also start making bad decisions, about the jobs that you actually take on, and you simply, because you're feeling desperate and because you just want to close that deal, you end up bringing in clients, that are going to be stressing you and actually making you want to work far harder than you are supposed to, if you've created diverse and recurring revenue streams within your business. All right, and nobody wants to feel desperate, okay? Because that feeling of desperation can actually even undermine your ability to do a good job estimating for your projects. Because right now you just might need money to pay for your car registration, or your car note, or your car insurance, or your house insurance, and you might actually quote low projects just so that they don't say no whereas you're going to be working harder and harder in order for you to fulfill those projects. And it becomes a vicious cycle where the clients are not happy about what is being done and the actual production that is being created for the business, just because you need cash to come in hot and quick. And when you estimate for too low jobs, or when you go in and quote for jobs that you don't even like, you literally undermine your feelings of self-confidence and you undermine your brand, and that just keeps bringing you lower and lower, and before you know it, you're gonna be tucking your tail to look for a 9-to-5 job or something of that nature, which is not what you've always wanted. And you can imagine, if you don't have money, you start cold calling people. And when you start cold calling potential clients, they hang up in your face. Can you imagine what that is doing to your self-esteem over and above? You start sending out hundreds of emails without getting as much as, hey, thank you so much for reaching out. You start wasting thousands of dollars, maybe on ad spend, on money that you actually don't have. And you literally are not generating leads because you no longer have a strategy, and you don't have, that self-esteem that you really want within your business. And sometimes it can feel like nobody wants to buy what you're selling. And if you're now relying on your business to maybe pay rent and put food on the table, man, this can put an enormous strain on your emotions, and you end up getting terrified because now you can't afford to put food on the table. Now you can't afford to pay rent. And now you can't even afford to show up at networking meetings or wherever it is that you go to look for new clients. Okay? And suddenly you find yourself in a downward spiral, lowballing your quotes, your estimates, and having to work harder to make enough money. And this is a bad place to be in. And for this reason, it is very essential for you to actually start creating a cash reserve. Whenever you make money, it's usually acceptable and understandable to save a minimum 10% of your earnings, just putting it away for a rainy day. Okay? And if you making some sort of money, that needs to happen, you will now have within yourself an opportunity for you to be, at a level where you can actually negotiate your worth. Okay, so you want to do it before you actually pay off maybe your credit cards, and before you buy flights for your next vacation. You just want to make sure that you've got enough money for you to do the things that you love. And as soon as you have a cash reserve, everything changes. Your demeanor changes. Your energy changes. You know what I mean? You dip into, you can dip into it during bad months, and you build it up during the good months. Okay? So it's like how the ants operate. They always have food reserves for during winter times, or when it's hard times. And most important of all, you never feel desperate to go for work that you don't want. And this actually means that you no longer have negative pressure around your productivity, and you can always remain focused on building your business and seeking out the best high-paying engagements that actually elevate you to do and have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. So if you have heard anything about this podcast yet, if you don't have any cash reserves yet, just make it a priority to start working on that today. Okay? And you might be asking, how do I start making these cash reserves when I haven't started making that much money? First of all, you need to create a budget. All right? The first step that you will be looking at whenever you go in is to create a budget. Okay, you want to develop a budget that you follow, and budget is one of those most effective methods for saving money. When you are getting started in business, and successful budgets helps you to keep money organized, and it actually serves as an outline for you to see the money that you're actually spending each month and what you're actually able to serve. Do you notice that sometimes you end up using money just because it's available in your bank account and pay for things that you don't need? So it's simple to remember for you to be frugal wherever you need, and to save as much cash as possible, while also being realistic about the amount of money that you need to be comfortable. Okay, so a budget will help you focus your money so that your cash flow is reliable in as much as for you to save money, like I mentioned, to have 2 months worth of earnings in advance. Okay, so when you create a budget, you can determine the amount of money that you actually bring in every single month, because a lot of people don't quite know what they are bringing in every month. So if you don't know how much you're bringing in, how are you going to be able to know how much you're spending? All right. And pretty much once you know how much you're bringing in, you can actually calculate your expenses, maybe such as your rent, your car payments, utilities, or whatever, things that you need to pay for your business in order for you to function. Because now that you know how much you're earning, you'll be able to determine what the expenses are. And then once you have that in play, you now are able to identify, whether you're spending wisely or not. And the amount that you're spending monthly, is it consistent or is it fluctuating? And you can actually make that easy so that your cash flow management is easy for you to follow through, not for yourself, but just for your own sanity. And once you know all of those figures, you can now calculate the average amount spent, on tools in your business, on education, maybe on your groceries, on clothing, or any other monthly items that you need to look after. Okay. And once you have a budget, you can easily now set a few limits on how much you're spending, and to eliminate, unwanted or discretionary spending just because you've got money in the bank. All right. And eventually you start saving money, growing your savings, so you'll be able to put aside an emergency cash fund equivalent to about 2 to 3 months of your earnings. That way, you no longer have to scrounge around just to get money to pay your bills. And if you now start having that fund equivalent, start paying off whatever debt you might have. Some people would have maybe had a student debt, a car debt, any personal loan, or whatever mortgage that you might have, and just find out what is the most comfortable monthly payment minimum that you can make towards that debt. And when you work within your budget, you actually prioritize paying off your debts first, and then you can invest the cash into maybe building a successful business, because there's nothing that is as painful as you are on the way to the top and you then realize you've got this massive debt, and only to realize that you haven't been creating anything worthwhile. So when you have paid off your debt, I was always told by my parents that you want to pay the most expensive debt first. All right. Once you've paid the most expensive debt first, and I think Brian Tracy talks about it, it's called Eat the Frog. Okay. Once you pay the most expensive debt first, you put yourself in a position to win. All right. And you want to pay more than the minimum balance, because now you've created these revenue streams within your business. You just want to get rid of that debt so that you keep more of the money that you are making, instead of using yourself or your accounts as transactional accounts, just paying money out without you actually saving any for yourself. Okay. And once you have started paying off your debt, don't acquire more debt by maybe going into a bigger mortgage or, a more expensive car. Just live within your means, live within that budget. Okay. And use whatever additional funds that you're now making, to really invest within your business and help you pay off, all those debts, and actually start saving for that 2 to 3 months of earnings, which actually now puts you in a position to be profitable within your business. Okay. And one other way that you can actually, use, there's tracking tools that you can use for your budgets. Use as much technology as you can. All right. There's a few ways for you to use technology to save money, within your business. Sometimes we have people that we have hired, like our VAs, who are doing jobs that a software can do. Okay. So you can save on valuable capital by actually looking to see how many things can you replace with technology. Okay. And especially these days when you're working to, from your home office, we're using so many tools to connect to the world. Okay. try and utilize as much of the free resources that you can as possible, so you don't have other expenses, like maybe renting out an office or things that you don't quite need, especially these days when it is quite easily possible for somebody to work from home. Okay. And in addition to you being able to work remotely, do some research on some free online tools that a small business or coaching or consultant can use, and that you can take advantage of. Okay. There's document management tools, business apps, email marketing tools, productivity management tools, whatever software that are available for you to utilize online, without you having to hire somebody to to work with you, or somebody that becomes an expense that you're paying for. And half of the times when you see other people with ginormous websites or ginormous budgets within their social media, just start small. Do what's comfortable for you, all right? Stop looking at other people's grass, because the grass is always greener on the other side. Okay. If you're like most entrepreneurs, you may have big dreams for your business, all right? While it's a great mindset to maintain starting small, it's a great mindset for you to do that and just work towards whatever milestones that your budgets permit you to have. And it's also an easy way for you to start saving money, because you don't need an enterprise account for your email marketing right now when you only have 1,000 people on your list. There's tools that you can use right now for free without you having to worry about having to subscribe to much more expensive tools. Okay, so you need to narrow your business idea down to the essentials. That way you're not spending far too much money on things that you don't need right now. And one other thing you want to do is be honest about your strengths and weaknesses, and then structure your business around your own skill set. Okay, and you want to identify features and inclusions that are not necessary for your product or service, and that might be costing you a lot more money for you to provide than anything else. And stick to that budget. Be very conservative with your budget. Acknowledge where you are and be more frugal, and start your business off strong, so that you are in a position to always be able to put an emergency cash fund of an equivalent of about 2 months of your earnings at any given moment. Because cash gives you options. And when you have money, and when you have, that freedom to do whatever you want, you will be able to actually, attract the best clients, because you are in the right frame of mind. Okay. And I cannot stress this enough, for you to just spend money on essentials. All right. Constantly be referring back to your budget. Review any unnecessary spending habits, otherwise known as discretionary spending. Keep in mind that money that you spend on nonsensical items and activities is money that you are not going to get again. It's money that should be going towards saving for your business. Okay? Discretionary spending can mean maybe dining out or taking people out for coffees with last names, or maybe you've got a bad shoe shopping habit. Just identify what is sucking out your money right now. Take a look at your bank statement and calculate the amounts that you're spending on non-essential items and activities, so that you have enough money every single month to put in an emergency cash fund equivalent of about 2 months of earnings. Why is that important? Because we are going through a recession. We're going through market downturns. We're going through sweeping lockdowns. You need to have diverse and recurring income streams within your business that will skyrocket your profitability and ensure that your business remains 100% bulletproof. Okay? We're going through hard times right now, and if you're not going to be creating that moat around yourself where you have, and I'm going to say this again, an emergency cash fund equivalent to about 2 months of your earnings, you might actually have a grand opening of your business and a grand closing. Okay. So if you want to help, get help to take advantage of these challenging times, I invite you to schedule a call with me, right? Right now, we'll then work hands-on with you to develop a strategic plan where we deep dive, and work on your ideal client clarity. Because once you're clear on the client that you want, you just go out there and get more of those people. So you also have strategic messaging. You also have the consulting offers that you're putting out there, or the coaching offers. And also look at your fees and pricing, because that also helps you make a little bit more money. All right. And once you've done all of that, we optimize your business so that it goes along with the budget that you have. And with that being said, we then help you set up your marketing engine and lead generation system so that you consistently attract the ideal clients that will allow you to stay afloat and put aside an emergency cash fund equivalent of about 2 months' earnings. Right? There's always going to be ups and downs in the life of a freelancer or a coach or consultant. And whether you're starting out or you've been freelancing for years, you just need to have that safety around you. Okay? So it doesn't matter whether you're starting or you're okay as a freelancer, or maybe you're a superstar in whatever you're doing, you will always have an occasional month that doesn't deliver money, and you're going to need to cover the bills. All right? No matter what, you are in business, people are also relying on you paying your invoices for them to stay in business. But if you have cash reserve to make up for these down months, you have good cash flow management, whether you're big or small, you will be able to weather the storms, all right? So reach out, let us help you create these diverse recurring revenue streams so you can skyrocket your profitability and ensure that your business remains 100% bulletproof, even during market downturns, even during global pandemics, even during sweeping lockdowns. I can't wait to high-five you and celebrate your success, because now you've got an emergency cash fund equivalent to about 2 months of your earnings, because you've been using a budget and be able to save and grow your business profitability. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au